we are starting off this month with some powerhouse trainings on your foundations, on your visions, on your why you are doing certain things in life. And tonight, I have a beautiful, beautiful guest, and I'm so honored to have her on. And she's joining us tonight to share her magic. And I'm just going to give her the floor because she is amazing. She is one of my co-leaders in Australia and New Zealand, and she's one of the top leaders in Australia and New Zealand area. And she has the most beautiful energy and the most beautiful heart. And she's a beautiful conscious being, loves co-creating her own reality and together with other people. She is a kinesiology, but she is mostly a conscious, beautiful being. And she's going to share her magic and her knowledge and her wisdom tonight with us. So Arihia-san, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight. She's joining in from Perth. So the internet was a bit spotty. Hopefully today everything goes well. But yes, so please, I'm giving you the floor and just share all your magic. I am in awe to hear everything you have to share.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Petra. Hello, hey everyone. My name's Arihia-san. I am calling in, dialing in from Perth. And yeah, today I'm really excited to speak about the many dimensions of Healy and using your Healy for your why and what that means, and how you do it, how you play with it. I think I'd love to actually have if you could just type a 1 in the comments if when you first were introduced to Healy, did you feel like there was like a bigger sort of mission connected to this amazing device? Type a 1 if you felt that. If there was like some sort of synchronicity that happened around it where you're like, oh, like, like it really grabbed your attention, or, there was something about Healy that just felt like, a little bit more special than other experiences, that you were having in your life. Who has experienced that? Mark's all the ones. Aditya, there's Mega 1. Okay, that's three people experienced that. Did anyone else experience that? Because I definitely 100% experienced that, and so many of the people in and around my my life have also experienced that. Okay, lots of ones. Deep's a 1. Someone else is a 1. So I would love to. I've just actually spent. And one more question: was anyone else in Vietnam in the last week? Drop a 2 in the comments if you're in Vietnam. This week. Mark was there. Because I'm probably actually going to cover a little bit of the content that was in Vietnam. Marcus gave a really incredible, insightful speech about the information field and what that is and like how it relates to being a really conscious creator. So yeah, that's no one else. Great, no one was there. Perfect. So let's dive into why. Let's dive into this contemplation on why. And I think I would actually love to start with why is Healy even here? Like why this product and why now? And not so long ago, last year around June, I with my Healy team, we did this. We called it a reality crafting immersion. And the heart of this reality crafting immersion was to, every person who joined the reality crafting, there was about 500 people who did it along with us. They were all searching for something more in their life. They were searching for more vibrant health. They were searching for more deeper connections in their relationships. They were searching for more wealth to come flowing into their life. They were searching for more flow to be happening in their business. They were searching for more connection to like the truth of their destiny. That was, like they were searching for more vitality. There were so many things that, and at any given time, there is this more. There's this category of more that we are asking to receive. And I truly believe Healy is an incredible. I know it's like there's all these there's these health parts to it as well, but my curiosity often lands in like creating support around how do we receive more. And I feel like that's part of what Healy actually is. It's this bridge. It gets to be this bridge. And when Marcus was speaking in Vietnam, he was talking about he actually gave two speeches, two presentations. And the second presentation he gave, he was speaking a lot about the information field, and he really went into the depth of what the information field is and the dimensions of consciousness. And if you know, like there's, different layers of consciousness, first dimension, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way up to apparently the 12th. I don't know who, maybe it goes more than that. We don't know. But the way that Marcus mapped it and where he placed Healy in this map, in this layered representation of consciousness, was it's the interface between the fourth dimension and the sixth dimension. So it's this interface between the manifest, us, matter, how we're experiencing life, how we're experiencing our health, how we're experiencing our body, what like the experiences we're having in our business, and the possibility, the unmanifest, like what's actually available. So those dreams that we have, the things that we'd really, really love. And when you think about, and I'm going to go back to that as well in a moment, but when you think about like the things that you would really, really love in your life, and yes, it's beautiful to be happy right now in the moment. It's beautiful to have gratitude right now in the moment for all that is, and be content and happy with that. And also, when we decide that we would love something, so I'm going to use this in the context of, let's say, growing your Healy business, for example. In Healy, we have this monthly cycle, and yes, it's the growth of a business, and there's money and there's wealth coming through, but there's also like other representations that happen as we really begin to expand and become visible, and like deeper conversations with different people, learn how to navigate, visibility in business, etc., etc. And when we decide that we would love something, there's something in our life, like, you know what, this month I'm gonna grow my Healy business to this point, or this month I'm gonna really focus on like deepening my relationship with my lover, or I'm gonna really focus on, whatever it is that you're wanting. When we make that decision, 95% of our thoughts, even though we make that choice, we feel like it's a very conscious choice. 95% of the thoughts that we're experiencing every single day, they're the same thoughts repeating themselves. And so even though we can make a very conscious decision about something, we're not supported by thoughts of the familiar, of how life is, the personality of who we believe ourselves to be, the known, right? The known of what we are. And so that's one thing that kind of can stop change. It can really stop. It can really stop movement from happening powerfully in our life. The other thing is that we are wired to be safe. We're wired to, like, what is this person going to think of me? Like, is that person going to think I'm crazy? Or, there's so many reasons. There's a pressure. There's an outward pressure when we make a decision that is beyond what we're already experiencing, that can hold us back from actually creating change, which is why so many people in their life do not create the change that they would love to be and see in the world. And so when we have a strong why, when we are so clear about that why, and we're very connected to that why gives us the roots to be able to withstand the wind when it blows, when we make that decision of like, this month I'm going to be director, or I'm going to grow my Healy business, or I'm going to get to Mexico, or I'm going to whatever it is that is in your heart to really receive. And I feel that path is really like part of our destiny, you know, and I feel like Healy is such a tool of alchemy, and it's such a tool of destiny because it plays between the layers of our biology and our consciousness and, you know, all these layers. And so when we can create a very, very strong why, that is when the pressure that happens around the choices that we, you know, the changes that we'd love to make, that is when we can actually make those changes, when we are rooted in our why. So that is like why the why. Why am I talking about the why? Why is it even important? So, you know, if have a think about something in your life that you're not experiencing right now, that you know that you would love to be experiencing, that is important to you, that you feel is like it's a part of your destiny. You know you're here to make that experience. Like, what is that? Just take a moment to just feel what that could be. Really consciously connect with that. Sorry. And I'm going to, when I one of the other themes from Vietnam, especially when people were speaking about using your Healy, was, and everyone knows this, right? I know everyone on this call knows this, but it's so nice to be reminded.
Han, you are muted. Let me just ask you to mute.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, good.
Sorry about
Technology. Go ahead.
I'm not sure what I was saying, but I was saying yeah, the thing that you want, the thing that's really important to you, like you're like the thing that you would love to be experiencing that you're not experiencing right now that you would love to experience. Oh, no, that's what I was talking about. Intention, the power of intention and focus. And it's so true that what we focus on expands. What we give our attention to expands. And there are many different philosophies that say this in many different ways. You know, where energy goes, and where attention goes, energy flows. What you focus on expands. You get what you think about. You know, there's so many different ways to say it, this philosophy. But ultimately, it's like our intention, like the expectation of what we intend to experience, whether it's about our health or our wealth or our life. That is the experience that we're going to be having. And so Healy is this tool that helps us to cut through and really maintain our focus when we use it as that tool. I just, another little piece of engagement, if you wouldn't mind. Does anyone use their Healy currently as a tool of like creating? Like, do you use it like for your goals, for your like for outcomes in your life that you would love to experience? Who's currently using Healy like that? Katie is a lot during content generation. Nice. Just health. Nice. Yep. I'd love to touch on this just health as well, because I think it's perfect to use it in a very biological sense, and I love that. And also, I would just an invitation to like expand out into, you know, even our biology. When you think of like, let's say your kidneys, let's say you run a program on kidneys, you're actually also moving the fear out of your body, because that's the kidney that's associated with fear when you're talking about creating. And when we are like, as humans, our highest purpose is to be here as the powerful creator or co-creator in relationship with life. And so, yes, when we have a strong vessel, we're able to do that. But it's the layers of our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual that enable us to really be in relationship with that. If you're working on your lungs, you're working on like moving grief out of your body. If you're working on your spleen, you're working on worry. Worry is a prayer to chaos. Stress is, like stress in your body biologically ages you. Stress in your body spikes your cortisol. It's like it can send you in a very, can put you in very much survival mode as opposed to creative mode. And creative mode is our natural state. And Healy is a tool that its purpose is to create coherence in our body. And that's not something that I made up. That's something that I heard Marcus Schmiekes say. And when we have coherence, we are excited to create. We're excited to build things and create things and be inspired around and with life and play and dance with life. And so yeah, I love that biology piece. And also there is this piece of energetics and I guess spirituality and creativity also, and even in the biology, like working with our organs and working with different parts of Healy. And so I'm going to share a couple of the programs that I use in Healy, and I feel like there's two phases of like potent creating. And when I say potent creating, I'm going to give you a couple of other words for what I would consider potent creating. I'm going to say like when you feel inspired, when you feel like, when you feel like just invincible, like confident, like a creative being is very confident in themselves, inspired, creative, confident, like dynamic, I would say, is when you have this coherence as well. What else? Activated, like there's all these words that are feelings that you feel, but they also correlate to your vitality. And so for me, there's two really obvious phases of being in this creative energy, in your creative juice. And the first one is like activating this energy. And these are the programs that I personally use for activating this energy. And I'll tell you why. I'll run through them and I'll tell you why. The first one is obviously coherence, because it's like it puts you in that state of coherence. So when I'm like, okay, like I'm feeling this right now, I'm feeling contracted because XYZ. But what I would love to be feeling right now is this. I'd love to be feeling calm. I'd love to be feeling focused. I'd love to be feeling like I can have this conversation with this person. I'd love to be feeling like leadership right now. And so when I feel like that, I will run my coherence and I'll be very intentional with my Healy. And I'll be like, okay, I would love to be feeling, and I would name what I would love to be feeling. Sometimes I actually even hold my Healy like almost like a prayer. I'm not praying to Healy, but I know that Healy is in connection with this field of possibility. And so I'm really like I will guide my attention and my focus to that point in that field of possibility where that already exists, where it already exists that I'm in leadership, where it already exists that my health is great, where it already exists that that I'm feeling vital, that I'm feeling confident, etc. And so I'll run coherence. The other program is being, which I'm actually running now. So, like being who you be. I think there's a lot of, I don't know if anyone else on this call has experienced this, but I know I certainly have. There's a lot of expectation to be who you're not. And one of my greatest messages is when we express who we really are, like true expression, that is when our life just like explodes, like really expands out. And so being is a great program for that. I've also a lot of the wealth coaches that I know, they will use being, because when you think of wealth, and I don't mean wealth as just money, wealth to me is like the spaciousness to be present with my child. It's the quality of being able to like spend time in my life doing the things that I genuinely love to do, like drawing or playing my guitar without feeling rushed in having to do that. Wealth is the ability to go on holiday and not have to stress about money, like actually enjoy the experience. And yes, wealth is the ability to accumulate like resources and distribute them in a way that feels like reciprocally beautiful to you. And so being and wealth are a really great match program microcurrent wise. Activation in job is also a great program to really, like, when you drop into your why, like, why am I here? Why am I here with Healy? What is the bigger vision? What's the bigger picture of me being here with Healy in this space? Activation is a great program to activate your connection to that. Release is a great program as well. There's a testimony in the frequency experience group, and it's a woman who only had a gold, and not only, but she had a gold, and she the gold's amazing, by the way, obviously. She had a gold, and she put a picture of this house there, and she was like, I just want everyone to know that I've just moved into my dream house, and I feel like I really owe it to Healy. Mostly what I used was the program release, and every time, like, thoughts of worry came into my head, every time I felt stressed, every time I felt my focus be distracted and move in different directions, every time I was pulled off my why of why I was really here and what it is I was wanting to experience, I would just run my release program, and I would release those feelings so I could stay focused. And release is in the description is really for releasing like pain and stuckness in your body. But when pain is not just physical, there's emotional pain. Like, the biggest pain I've felt in my life is the disconnection between my physical being and my soul. Like, knowing that my soul is, like, yearning for something, and my physical, I'm not experiencing it physically. That's probably the most pain I've ever felt in my life. And so release is really great to, like, release that and get to the bottom of it. And I don't use these programs just like, oh, I'm just going to release. I might journal on it, or really, like, meditate or pray around that piece as well. Performance is amazing. Like, if you are like, I would love this experience in my life. Performance really supports you to me. It supports me. I'm not actually, let's just rephrase that. So when I use performance, it supports me to expand my capacity to be able to make powerful choices and follow through with them. I love performance for that. And the same with stamina. Like, it really helps with my capacity. And when you think about being creative, when you think about being powerful, when you think about, like, really moving energy in your life, a lot of it has to do with capacity and nervous system. And so, yeah, those two programs of performance and stamina really support with me. Someone said I use my Healy for content creation, and this next program is a great program for content creation. And if you're, like, going in a room, or if you're delivering a presentation about Healy, or you're having a business conversation with someone about Healy, or you're wanting to, like, just really show your, like, vivacious, juicy energy, like your true expression, potency is amazing. Like, it's so good. Potency is a really, really incredible program for me for that. Another one is epigenetics, which is in biovitalization. So the epigenetics program, I don't know if you know what epigenetics is, but essentially, if you took our DNA and you unwound it, like all the DNA that exists inside your body in all the cells, it would go to the sun and back, something like it's a ridiculous amount of times, like 10,000 times or something. Like, it's so much information. Like, it would wrap around the planet 62,000 times, like, just in your body, the DNA in your body. That's how much information we have in our DNA. Now, not all of this information is switched on, right? Like, and I believe, and science calls like a large percentage of that. I can't remember if it's 90% or 99% of that information. They call, it's been called junk DNA. It's not, like, to me, that's like blasphemy, because I'm like, how could we have this beautiful information, like so much information, like living inside us, 99, like that much, when we unwound it, how could it possibly be junk? to me, like, I'm like, no, we need some more, we need that revision. And, you know, like quantum physics and, you know, the field of science that Healy is connected with, they don't believe that's junk. But there is a field of science where it is called junk. And so I've worked with a transmission called the Gene Keys, and I know Mark Bentley was here on this with Petra not so long ago. And that study is really about how the frequency of your genetic code determines the expression of those genes. And so when those genes are in the shadow, like it can manifest as like, you know, ill health, contraction, you know, many different, like, you know, like not being able, like conflict, stress, confusion, you know, so there's so many ways that it can manifest. But at exactly the same frequency, that DNA, when it switches on, becomes a gift. It becomes this gift that we give to life, and it becomes our vital energy. You know, we can really function and move in the world like children. You know how children go into a room and they just like can take over, their whole energy can take over like the whole room. If anyone in this call has children or is connected to children, you know exactly what I mean. Like they'll just go straight into a room and even the energy will just be like big. And that's our capacity. And when we're in our gift, when the frequency of our DNA is raised, that's what's switched on for us. And so epigenetics and the epigenetic program, it's not altering the genes, it's altering the environment of the genes so that the expression of that DNA changes. And so when you're thinking about, okay, here I am, this person experiencing this thing that I want is not manifested yet. And so when you think about that genetically, it's like when you raise the frequency of yourself, then you experience that thing at that different frequency. And so I find the epigenetic program when I focus on like sometimes I even like visualize my DNA and stuff. And like I'm not a doctor. I'm just like, this is just my experience and how I like really connect to like creation. And so that epigenetics is another program for, I feel, activating. The Joy of Life in digital nutrition, I find, is also really great for me for like buoyancy. And I find that when I'm buoyant, I'm more creative and I have more ideas and I make more powerful choices. As a woman, I don't know if it's the same as for men, but there's also a program in digital nutrition, and it used to be called hormones, but now it's called hormone system, I think. It's like, yeah, it was originally called hormones. And it's got, when you look at the digital nutrition mixtures, it's got serotonin in it. And that one I love too. Like I find that to be like really, if my energy is a little bit depleted, a little bit flat, I use that one and it's really amazing. And then the last one is Pure. So these are all the ones that for me activate this creative energy and using it very intentionally. The last one is Pure. And as I was saying before, someone was saying like the kidneys and the lungs are very, someone was saying before they use it very biologically. When you think of what Pure is actually doing, it's working on the kidneys and it's working on the lungs. And when you think of what the kidneys and the lungs are doing, the kidneys are like that's where fear is stored. That's also your will. So your will is it's like some people would call it discipline, some people would call it devotion, some people would call it, like it's the activation. Let's bring it back to the subject of your why. Why do people not change? Why do people not receive what they'd love to receive? It's because their will is not activated. And the will is a function of your kidney. And so when you run Pure and you're working on your kidneys and your lungs, you're working on your will and you're working on your fear, like facing your fears or processing your fears. And then your lungs is grief and ability to receive life, right? So Pure is also another activating program, I find. And I think it was Nuno said, it was one of the scientists, was talking about Pure being a really great program if your mind is very busy with chatter and it's like constantly on a bit of a loop. And if we're talking about being like creative, powerful beings, it's this connection that we have with our mind. And so Pure also can like clean support you to like clear that chatter out from your mind. So that's the first, the microcurrents that I use for activation. And the second sort of like stream of programs that I use is like when you really decide something and you go over something like, I'm going to change this thing in my life, you get that pressure, you get that pushback, and it's really a function of your nervous system of whether you actually make that change or not. And our nervous system is basically the interface that we have with the quantum field. If our nervous system is like all jittery and, you know, like contracts and doesn't have the capacity to hold, then whatever it is that we're wanting to create and receive, health, wealth, whatever, it can't hold it. There's no receptivity there. And so nervous system is the second function of like powerful creating and like, you know, build like receiving, like being connected to your why. And these are the programs I use for nervous system support. Nerves, obviously. Nerves is amazing. That's in bioenergetics. Just to like, so there's two parts to the nervous system. The first part is like letting it to be calm, so that, oh, balloons. That's great. Zoom agrees. The first part is that really threw me. What was I saying? The nerves program. So yeah, being calm. So the first part of the nervous system is being calm, like, you know, being in your parasympathetic nervous system so that you can actually step out of stress, step out of survival, step out of the constant cycle that, you know, 90%, more than 90% of people like just fall into. By the time we're 30, the neural pathways that we've created are like 90 to 95% set. So that's that nervous system of like being calm enough to actually make decisions that put you in the unknown, that put you in like, which creates fear in your body. Because as soon as you step out of that, like, oh, I'm doing something different, your body goes into fear and it reacts. And so like calming your nervous system when you're, you know, wanting to create something is a great, Healy is really great for that. And almost the whole deep cycle protocol is something that I'm actually doing right now. And we had a call with Jan, I forgot his last name, Polinsky, I think is his name. And he was talking about how the deep cycle is a, you know, it goes through, it biologically, it cleans out your vessel, it cleans out your body. So you have, I mean, some of the stories that he has from deep cycle, I feel like they're not compliant. So I'm a little worried about sharing them. But, you know, people who have conditions that keep them very tired all the time, after using deep cycle, have like changed their experience of how their relationship to tiredness is. I think that's compliant. I think I can say that. Which blew my mind. But then so that's the first layer, was the biology of deep cycle, and then on the second layer, his whole thing around deep cycle is nature is my religion. And that's not the same for everyone. I know everyone has their own religions, and like full respect to that. And by sharing that piece, I'm, you know, there's no disrespect to whatever it is that you're believing, but I feel what I extract from him sharing that is that there's so much to learn from nature. Like if we just observe nature and like return to nature in all the ways, then we come into contact with the divine. We come into contact with the God within. And the God within is our vitality. It's our strength. It's our ability to create, you know, all those pieces. So deep, and he was saying that if you want to be a powerful creator, use the deep cycle, like do the whole protocol. Because although it's a biological process, underneath it all is like his desire to support people to being powerful creators. And I was like, that is awesome. It's so awesome. So you can do the protocol, but in that protocol, there's a couple of really, really great ones. I find the breath of life, just like for having a better relationship with your breath. You know, in Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, the word spirit and the word breath it's the same word. And so when you think of connecting to, like, yeah, and in certain religions, some people would call it the Holy Spirit, some people would call it intuition, whatever it is. Like there's this force, there's this, like, Marcus Schmecker calls it the fifth element. He was calling it the fifth element in the presentation he was sharing in Vietnam. You know, there's many different names for it. Ether, Akash is a different name for it. Like there's so many different names. But yeah, when you connect with your breath, the breath of life, and the mantra for the breath of life is, I breathe with the universe. Like as I breathe in, the universe breathes in. As I breathe out, the universe breathes out. And so there's no greater connection to, like, your absolute potency and your clarity, the clarity that you can have when you use that program, to really connect to what it is that you want to create. So breath of life is amazing. Go to the roots is also amazing, because a lot of the patterning that we have that stops us from creating what we want is created in our childhood. It's created in very, very early childhood. It's like the trauma is created there, the misperceptions and the way that we, like, build our beliefs, they're actually false. They're not supportive of our true great nature. They're in our roots. They're in that first 0 to 7 years of our life. And so go to the roots in deep cycle program, deep cycle program. Helps us to, like, build our roots, because if we want to build this, you know, if we think of, like, our tree of our life and the fruits that we bear, and whether those fruits are the, you know, the spirit of generosity, the, you know, the fruit of a thriving business, the fruit of, like, beautiful relationships, whatever that fruit is that you want it to be, if the roots aren't there, if the depth of those roots aren't there, then you can't, your tree's not going to fruit. And so that Go to the Roots program is amazing for, like, really, like, moving through that energy so you can grow that beautiful tree. I've already said it, but kidneys for fear, lungs for guilt, heart, anything to do with the heart. So the heart chakra, the heart meridian, is really an expression of, like, this. If you're wanting to express your unique consciousness, your own, like, we are all here to express a very unique blueprint, and we all have it. And it's so deeply connected to our why. It's deeply connected to the why we're doing all the things that we're doing. And the heart programs that like the heart chakra, the heart meridian, if there's anything else heart I can't think of right now, but yeah, heart programs really amplify and help us connect to that, our unique expression, and why we're here. You know, obviously there's love and unconditional, you know, like there's the physics of the biology of that as well. But yeah, that stability in biovitalization is quite self-explanatory. But yeah, when we another reason why people don't change is because it's so volatile. It's such a volatile space to go through change, because it doesn't feel stable, because it's unknown. And so when that happens, like, that's when everything comes up. And so the program stability in bioenergetic vitalization is another awesome program to support your nervous system when you're, like, deeply desiring to create change. And then the last one that supports the nervous system is basically all of the mental programs. They are, like, my go-to. And there's something, I don't know if you guys, there's probably another name for it, but there's something called split energy. And split energy is basically the opposite of coherence. So you probably had an experience in your life when you're like, I would love to create this thing. I want that. I'm gonna do this thing, right? And maybe your brain is, like, completely on board with that, but maybe your body is not, or maybe your emotions are not, or, you know, like, it's like not every part of you, and when every part of you is, that's called coherence. When everything's, like, has strength and it's facing in the same direction, your biology, your thoughts, your emotions, they're all going in the same direction. When they're not, it's called split energy. And the brain, the function of the brain, like, can really bring that split energy into coherence. And so inner unity is really great for that. inner unity is amazing for like helping you consciously like bring your focus of all of those energies into line so you can really focus, or you can like feel what comes up that you actually need to move. Inner strength is, I find, is also amazing if you are a mother, and yeah, as a mother, inner strength. No, but like in terms of creative capacity, inner strength is a really beautiful program, because you do need that inner strength, because it's like when you think of it in a very primal way, right? Like when we decide that we're going to change something, and I've spoken about that, like volatility and the fear. It's like you have to think that there's a part of our brain that's very primal, and it wants to be a part of the tribe. It's very tribal. It wants to be a part of what everyone else is doing, the way that everyone else is moving. And whether that's true or not, if you feel like you're going outside of the tribe, if you feel like you're going to take an action that your parents aren't going to love, or that your partner or your spouse is not going to love, or that someone, but it's true for you, it's really, really alive for you, but you fear what other people in your life are going to say or think about it, the fear that comes with that is equivalent in your primal brain to the fear of being like, in a herd of animals and being outside of the herd of animals. And so, inner strength, like you need inner strength to like be like, even if you're not, I mean, I'm sure there's people in your life that are supporting you. It's just the thoughts that we have in our head sometimes of like really kind of like swimming against your own current. And that inner strength program is like amazing for that, if you're wanting to really facilitate and create change in your life. So that's all the programs about that. I mean, do you want to like, should we ask questions? I do have other stuff about like the coach and stuff that I can share like really quickly. And I'm not sure how these calls roll, but yeah, if
That's okay, Ken. Like whatever you feel like. If you feel like you want to share the screen with the coaching, perfect. Otherwise, yes, questions. I think questions are always welcome. Everybody loves questions at the end. But you have about, let's say, 5 minutes if you want to share the coach.
yeah.
Yeah. Can I add a few programs? I don't know how you experienced it, but I love the pure energy in the Deep Cycle H, because we talked about like the way I look at energy. We talked about last year about our energetic field as well. So what I love with pure energy, especially, is the that works directly on the nervous system for fatigue or exhaustion, but at the same time it actually charges the energetic field, which actually expands it further. So you can actually touch, you can expand your space, which is actually really good. I love bioenergetic vitalization. It's my favorite. It's not on the list of programs we're moving towards to. Deep cycles we're going to have in February. I did wanted to add soul cycles are my favorite for business as well. I love those. But the conflict that you were talking about, the inner unity, I love using the conflict program in the Power of Three. So the inner conflict, I love that one. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's really like, it really affects my body, but everybody's different. So it's good to have different lists of programs. So this is amazing. This is really amazing. So do you want to share the coaching program so you can share how you actually doing things?
Yeah. So, and those ones that you added, like the conflict balance, it's so good. I love it. Yeah. So just a couple of things with the coach is, and I'm sure everyone knows this, but it was really reiterated in Vietnam, was the how important the quality of your intention is when you're using your coach. Like it's literally everything. And when Marcus explained like, the 4D and the 6D, and that's the information field, and that's like literally where every single possibility meets every single other possibility. It's literally the infinite field of possibility. But the way that it interacts with us is through the quality of our intention. It's not the facilitator. It's not the person who's using it. It's not like your health. It's none of that is relevant if your intention and your focus is really, really clean and clear. And they gave like the most amazing examples. Like there was this one man who used his coach to, and this isn't about your why, but it's just an example to illustrate focus. He used his coach. He was having pests come into his garden, and he put in his coach like, no outside interference is coming into my garden, something like that. And then the water dried up in his garden, and they didn't know why. And then he went to his time waiver specialist, who was Christian Halper's wife, and they looked at the intention, and the water was like an outside interference. So all the water had dried up in his thing. So he had to change the intention. Like that's how important and powerful focus and intention is, and how powerful it is working with your Healy, like in that way. And so, yeah, there's that way that you can work with your Healy, of like really, really playing with what it is. Like I think like I also know a friend of mine is friends with all the Hollywood like bigwigs, and he has a friend who has written like a very large percentage of the $1 million scripts in Hollywood. And he says that this man he can spend 2 to 3 months coming up with the core intention of that movie script. And he doesn't rush over that. And that's the focus. That's the theme, right? And if he comes up with that focus and it's clear and it's clean, he knows that the movie will write itself. And if he knows that that focus and that theme isn't good, then he won't move forward with the project. And it's exactly the same. Like it's exactly the same with our focus and with our clarity, is that it's okay to spend time on your why and on your focus, instead of just being like, oh yeah, I want this. And it can be like quite surface level. Like take the time to like go deep and feel a genuine connection with what it is you would love to change in your life, and then put that into your Healy and then work with it. Because the other thing is that I've noticed is that people who have had the most insane transformations with their Healy, like, you know, just wild, the wildest, they're already working with the energy, and Healy comes in and it amplifies it. And Healy, the quantum field will work with you if your intention isn't like fully there. You know, it will measure your chaos and it'll work on your chaos if your mind's in chaos. But if you are in focus and if you are in like that full power and coherence, the things that this can amplify for you is like, it's really, really next level. It's a whole different frequency of experiencing your life. The very last thing I want, because I know I only have 5 minutes, the very last thing that you can play with your coach, if you have a coach, is to ask it questions. So like before I got on this call, I was like, why am I really here? And like, what's my deepest why for being here? And it came up with like service and like these beautiful things that I could really connect to, of like, why, what is my why? Because I wanted to play with, you know, what we're talking about today was really your why and changing. So that's something that I learned off a quantum coach in Portugal. And she's like, oh yeah, I use my Healy and I ask it like why. I ask the coach why questions and like see what comes up. And that's not like official Healy. Like I would say just play with it, but I enjoy playing with that. And it does give me like really in-depth insight of like things that I can change and move and shift them. Yeah, all of that. So I hope that was helpful. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on, Petra. And
that was amazing, honey. That was just amazing. So if there's any questions, please pop them into the chat or raise your hand as normal, and then we will allow you to unmute. There are a few questions. Let me see. Okay, there was a direct question, but how many times a day generally one needs to use the Healy? So as we know, ideally, you know, we do not want to go over 3 IMF programs in the pink app. Regarding the blue app, we had this last year in many sessions in the training. Make sure you are not overdoing the frequencies, but there is no limitations on how much you can vibrate to your field, because it's a different approach. There are protocols that, sorry, yeah?
Caveat to that 3 programs, and this was also iterated a lot in Vietnam, is that less can definitely be more. Like if your body is actually, you know, really working through something at a very physical level, like if you run 1 program that day and let it integrate, it can actually be more potent than running a lot, especially like if there's a chronic sort of like something in your system.
Yes, I agree. So we've talked about this in our previous sessions as well. So looking at, how much you vibrate and how many times and all of that. And it's also, I feel like, trusting your body. And I think that's what Healy is all about, is teaching us to trust our own selves and to actually have feedback and play with it, and actually learn from that feedback so we understand ourselves, so we don't actually just give our power away to the outside sources. Perfect. So lymphatics, Aditya, we're going to look at meridians next month. So we're going to touch on that a bit. Thank you so much for the knowledge sharing. That's beautiful. I loved having you here today. Like, you are always such a beautiful wealth and a beautiful well of beautiful water in there, of all the knowledge and everything that you share, like in your magic. And I'm glad that everybody enjoyed it. So that's the most important thing. If there's no questions, we would like to thank you, and I would love to thank you, Arihia, for joining me tonight. I am honored for having you here, and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And it gives me a break from, talking as well, which is a good one sometimes. But we are moving, so we're going to have a repeat session next week for manifesting with Healy, because we don't have a recording of that one. So we're just going to go through the coaching program so you can know exactly how to approach it. As Arihia said today, intention is really, really important to actually have that clear. But otherwise,
there's a question comments. So first of all, so I'm going to answer this in two ways. I'm going to give like how you can research it yourself, and then I'm going to give like what I would do. The Heal Advisor, if you every single device, like you can use the Heal Advisor for anything. Like, you can type in visibility, you can type in kidneys, you can type in like this anything, like whether it's like the emotional, the physical, the spiritual. So you could type in like distraction or focus into the Heal Advisor, and you could see what it would come up with. And I imagine it would come up with things like a program that was highly recommended if you have the Mag Healy was brain harmony, like when people are like, when your brain's like foggy and focused and jet lag and like all these different things, like that was mentioned a lot. But in the actual Healy, like the activation program in job is like, I find that really clears my mind. There's also a conversation to be had with that. And then, like, you could also use I would also use things in the Resonance app, like maybe the coach or maybe the aura scan of like, I'm feeling focused and devoted to what I want to do. I mean, if that was happening in my household, which it does, like I think it happens in so many households, I would also have a conversation and help that person to work with the Healy and be like, how are you feeling when you're on your device all the time? Like, what's happening in your brain? Like, would you like to feel more this, more that? Like, how can we support you? And then like I would engage the Healy and work in that way, as opposed to, like Healy, if someone's not willing to work with the energy of Healy as like a tool to support them into creating change, it's not as beneficial as if you create like a conversation around it, and it's a participant thing. So I hope that answers your question. But there definitely would be programs. Probably contentment as well is for addictions, so like thought pattern addictions. So that would probably help. The obvious things like sun and earth and the elements, nature would also, I would say, be really helpful.
Perfect. Thank you. Priyanka, you have your hand up. Let me just ask you to unmute, and then you can ask your question.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for all the information. That was awesome. I wanted to ask, is the recording of this program would be available somewhere?
Yeah, so as I always, so you can get your recordings at the end of the month through the email Healy newsletter. You can opt into the Healy newsletter. Normally you automatically opt in the back office. Otherwise, you can do that under your profile It's in the top right corner in your back office, and it just says opt in or opt out on the bottom of the first tab. Otherwise, you can also join my Facebook group where the recordings are available as soon as Zoom does
What's
its
the name of the
thing.
Facebook group?
I will post the link in the chat so you can actually join in there.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else, Priyanka? Okay, all good. That is, I think, all. Yeah, Arya, do you want to add on anything?
Sorry, I dropped my Instagram in the comments if anyone wants to connect. If that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want? Yeah. If you pop your Instagram in there, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. All good. That's perfect. Let me just copy the link to the group so Priyanka can. Oh my! Of course, it's raining outside and my internet is really slow. I'm having a storm, so it's like in my face. Okay, here you go. That's to everyone. This is the link if you want to join, and let me just grab this one, and that's it. Thank you here for joining. Thank you everyone for joining tonight. Thank you for your time, for coming tonight, and I'll be seeing you next Thursday when we look at the coaching program in detail on how to read it, how to scan it, how to put everything in. Thank you here for coming, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.